How can the Jets keep Patrick Mahomes in check? We'll discuss today on Locked On Jets.
You are Locked On Jets, your daily New York Jets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, Jets fans and Chiefs fans. It's Crossover Thursday here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Jets fans, you know me. I'm the host of Locked On Jets, John Butchko, along with Chris Clark of Locked On Chiefs. We're going to preview this Week 4 game between the New York Jets and the Kansas City Chiefs. But you should know that this Crossover Thursday episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match of up to $100. Chris, great to be with you. Believe it or not, this is actually the first time the Jets will appear on Sunday Night Football since the year 2011. I know the Chiefs have played some pretty important games since then, but this is the first time in well over a decade that the New York Jets will be in the marquee game of the week.
Yeah, and it's great to be with you, John. We've had a couple of these episodes over the years. It's what's crazy to me, though, is if you look back, and I know this predates the Jets a little bit, but if you look back, Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes are supposed to have been playing 3 separate times. And Rodgers got hurt, I think, the first time. Then Mahomes got hurt, and now Rodgers is hurt again. So it just doesn't seem like it's meant to be, and that really stinks because I thought it was going to be a good matchup.
Absolutely. I mean, this looked like a marquee matchup at before the season. I thought it was going to be a shootout. I thought it was going to be Rodgers versus Mahomes.
No, I agree. I thought that was going to be fantastic, and now we're in a situation where it's Mahomes versus Zach Wilson. And while I feel obviously great about the quarterback situation for Kansas City in that regard, I mean, going against the Jets defense is going to be a good test.
So, Chris, let me ask you, what's the biggest storyline coming out of Kansas City this week?
Right now, okay, I have to break this up a little bit. Coming out of Kansas City, I'd say that it's Travis Kelce dating Taylor Swift. And I hate saying that, but it's talked about by so many people on national media. It is the biggest story in Kansas City. When you start talking Chiefs football, really, though, probably injuries. Chris Jones was limited in practice. Nick Bolton missed practice. You're looking at some injuries that could be very significant for Kansas City and their defense. Nick Bolton didn't play last week. If he doesn't play this week, I feel pretty good about his backup. But Chris Jones missing after missing the first game. Obviously, you saw how much different the defense has been since he's been back. But I think the defense is still going to be okay. And if there's a game that Chris Jones would miss, no offense, John, but I think this is probably the one that I'd be okay with him missing because I don't know that QB pressure is going to be as big a deal in this game.
That's an interesting point, and obviously on the Jets side, it's always been about the quarterback this season. We thought heading into the year it was going to be Aaron Rodgers. And, Chris, I frequently joked over the last couple of years on the Jets side that I feel like I have a PhD in bad quarterback play. So I was really excited that I was actually going to get to see some good quarterback play. Not meant to be. Zach Wilson, it's been a struggle. I actually thought he played reasonably well week 1. I thought he played decently week 2. But with Zach Wilson, it's been the story since his first year. It's always like half step forward and then 2 steps back. And last weekend against the New England Patriots, it was ugly. I mean, look, it's not all Zach Wilson's fault, Chris. There were failures from the coaching staff. I don't think Nathaniel Hackett called a good game. The wide receiving core outside of Garrett Wilson looking really shaky. The Jets shook things up a lot. They brought in Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, Mecole Hardman, even though he's not playing much for this team. Not a lot of separation on key downs, but a lot of it's on Zach Wilson. And it's kind of ironic that the Jets are playing the Chiefs this weekend because I got to blame your team a little bit, Chris, for the Jets having Zach Wilson, because I think like when he was at BYU, the Jets saw some Mahomes in him, some of the playmaking ability in college, and it just hasn't been there so far.
It's interesting because you talk about the fact that Wilson looked okay week 1. I would agree with you. I think he did. Week 2 he was okay. Week 3 it's worse. It almost seems like he's getting worse the more he actually has a chance to prepare to start, which is obviously not what you'd want as a starting quarterback. But you look at that, you look at Zach Wilson, and the one thing I will say, I agree with you to an extent that your wide receivers are a question. I love Garrett Wilson. Don't get me wrong, fantastic wide receiver by far, probably easily the top 5 wide receiver in my opinion. I think he is fantastic, but he's going to be held down this year by Zach Wilson. So is he going to be looked at as a top 5 wide receiver talent wise? I think he is, at least right now. But then you start looking at Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, McCole Hardman. McCole Hardman had almost no chemistry with with Aaron Rodgers, but Lazard and Cobb did. Rodgers trusted them. Wilson isn't going to be making the same type of throws that Rodgers would trust those two to make. That's a huge difference in how this offense is going to be able to operate.
And Robert Saleh, the Jets head coach, has alluded to this week, where he feels like, look, obviously there's a big downgrade going from Aaron Rodgers to Zach Wilson, but he's talked about how this offense was designed for Aaron Rodgers. And I think that might be the biggest example where they got receivers Aaron Rodgers was comfortable with. And I'll be honest with you, Chris, at the time, I did not love the Lazard signing. I referred to it on Locked On Jets as the Aaron Rodgers tax, where maybe it was the type of move you had to make because Aaron Rodgers, in order to land him, you had to get the players that he wanted. Cobb, I really disliked the signing of Cobb at the time, and I felt like it was a signing that was made because, I'll be honest with you, I think it was made because Aaron Rodgers is friends with Randall Cobb. I think there's something to the idea that you want receivers who have chemistry with the quarterback.
Yep.
But I just felt like the Jets, they should have been trying to upgrade the receiver position. And there are lots of issues with this offense right now. And I think I got to be honest with you, Zach Wilson's number one. I mean, if you look at this quarterback matchup this weekend, I mean, I don't think you can have a bigger mismatch of Patrick Mahomes versus Zach Wilson, but I don't think the Jets have done a lot to help out Zach Wilson.
I would agree with that. And I would expand a little bit and say that if you put Patrick Mahomes with the same receiving core, you're going to have better results. And I don't think that that's anything that would surprise anybody. But I also don't think that when you look at the wide receivers that the Jets have, I think that they were expecting Aaron Rodgers was going to be able to elevate them. And Zach Wilson is not that type of quarterback. At least that's the way I see it. And that is going to be a problem for the offense consistently this season. So that's going to be something to watch, and something I'm really curious is to see how it plays out this week. Kansas City has had some really good DB play, and I think that's going to be something to watch. Obviously, Garrett Wilson is going to be a guy that you have to watch out for, but the rest of the wide receivers I feel pretty good about being able to cover and at least keep down to, average type numbers, if not below average.
Now, Chris, let me ask you, do you think Chris Jones is going to play on Sunday?
It's so hard. This early in the week, I would love to say that I'm confident he will. Like, this is he's going to practice more tomorrow. He'll practice more on Friday, and he'll be ready to go. But with Chris Jones and with what he means to this team, and again, I go back to kind of what I said before. If I'm the coaching staff and I'm looking at this game, can I win this game without Chris Jones? If I think I can, and I don't need Chris Jones, I'm sitting him. Because if you get him healthy and you get him ready, I mean, look at the schedule the next couple of weeks. They have the Vikings next week, which could be interesting, and then the Broncos. But the real big game of the game coming up is the Chargers in several weeks. If Chris Jones is 100% healthy in that game, that's what matters. I don't know that Jones is going to make as big of a difference. He can make a big difference in the game, but I don't think he's going to be the reason they would win in this case.
No, it's interesting for the Jets as they've kind of reshuffled their offensive line. Left tackle Dwayne Brown's on injured reserve with a hip injury. So the Jets essentially have new guys in 3 spots. Mekhi Becton, who had played right tackle at the start of the season, moved over to left tackle. Elijah Vera-Tucker, who had been the right guard, moved to right tackle. And Joe Tippmann, who the Jets drafted in the second round, who's really a center, is playing right guard. So in a way, you could argue the Jets actually have 3 guys playing out of position, although I think I'd really say it's probably closer to 2 because Becton played left tackle as a rookie and he got some work in training camp at left tackle. But Jets have a reshuffled offensive line. And oddly, I think they played better against New England in week 3 than the regular line played weeks 1 and 2. But that's something to watch. And it'll be something interesting to see whether or not Jones plays.
Well, and the bigger thing to me really goes beyond the line work. It's more of how is Spagnuolo going to attack Zach Wilson? And that's really what it comes down to me. I'm not trying to throw your line under the bus, but what I am saying is that line can be great. Kansas City, I think, has a good offensive line. But if you put Steve Spagnuolo against Zach Wilson against the Chiefs' offensive line, I don't know that it's going to matter because Spagnuolo will confuse the quarterback. And I think that's really what is going to help this team this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, look, Zach Wilson's got a lot of issues making reads. I mean, the Jets have actually had Tony Romo call the games the last 2 weeks, and I've actually really enjoyed it because I think a lot of analysts in the NFL go too easy on coaches. They go too easy on players. Romo's told it like it is. He said Zach Wilson's not getting through his reads quick enough. He's criticized Nathaniel Hackett's play calling. It's, the Jets offense is not good, and I've enjoyed Romo because he doesn't sugarcoat things.
Well, and if you get to a point where you're not reading the defense well enough and you don't know where the pressure is coming from, you could get knocked out real easy against this team. Because Kansas City is going to send pressure from everywhere. Spags loves going against young QBs that don't read defenses very well.
Well, you guys have heard about the epic quarterback matchup between Zach Wilson and Patrick Mahomes this weekend. Ahead here on this crossover episode of Locked On Jets and Locked On Chiefs, we're going to turn our attention to some key matchups. Chris and I will tell you the key matchups to watch. That's ahead on this Thursday crossover edition of Locked On Jets and Locked On Chiefs.
No matter why you shave, Harry's has you covered for the best shave of your life at a price you'll love. From their legendary high-quality razors to skin products like exfoliating face wash and hydrating lotion, Harry's gives you a premium shave without the premium price tag. Get better quality and a better price than other razors when you get Harry's delivered right to your door. What I have loved about the Harry set is you can get a nice set of a razor with not spending a lot of money. That is fantastic. That is one of the best things at Harry's. The starter set is a $13 value for just $3 at harrys.com/lockedonnfl. It includes 5 German-engineered razor weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover. Scheduled delivery for refills as low as $2, half of what you pay for other blades. Harry's has the highest customer satisfaction in the industry, and they're still offering a no-risk trial. Don't like your shave? No worries. It's on them. Get your best shave ever this summer with Harry's razors and skin products. Get a $13 starter set for just $3 at harrys.com/lockedonnfl. That's harrys.com/lockedonnfl for a $3 starter set. So when you look at this, and you look at this matchup, you look at both these teams playing, what is the biggest matchup that you see going into this game for the Jets to have a chance to beat the Chiefs?
It's kind of a unique matchup because normally I would not say defensive line versus quarterback, but I think Patrick Mahomes is such a singular talent. And the thing that makes him so dangerous is his ability to evade a pass rush. The Jets on paper have a really good defensive line. I mean, they can roll 6 deep at the defensive end position, 6 quality players. At defensive tackle, you have Quinnen Williams, who was a first-team All-Pro last season. Chris, they have not been playing up to that potential, though. Over the last 2 weeks, they have 1 sack. And we know that sometimes the Chiefs have a good offensive line, but they can allow pressure. But the problem defenses have is even when the Chiefs allow pressure, Mahomes is just so good at escaping. And he's got that incredible arm, and the way he moves. I mean, like I have no idea how his joints move the way that they do, where he can just evade pressure. It's like, I mean, you guys know it, and he defies description. He's the greatest quarterback of his generation. And if you want to have any chance against him, you have to figure out a way to either confine him to the pocket. Hopefully you bring him down, but if he gets free, he just makes plays that nobody else can make. And Jets have good corners. Sauce Gardner, first-team All-Pro last year as a rookie. Yep. Defensive Rookie of the Year. DJ Reed, who I did not make the Pro Bowl last year, but was a Pro Bowl caliber corner a year ago. Really quality slot corner, Michael Carter II. They're a little shakier at linebacker and safety. I think they may have some issues with Travis Kelce, but the biggest thing for the Jets, and this is a defense Robert Saleh has that's built on generating pressure with 4 pass rushers. It's not good enough to generate pressure with 4 pass rushers this weekend for the Jets. They have to figure out a way to ideally put Mahomes on the ground, but at the very least confine him to the pocket. And look, that's easier said than done. I'm sure everybody says that you talk to in these crossover shows. If it was that simple, Mahomes would not put up the numbers he puts up. But with the offensive issues the Jets have, they have to figure out a way to contain him. And containing him begins with not allowing him to make those plays where he's out of the pocket, and because that's where a lot of the big plays happen, where Mahomes just somehow makes it happen outside of the structure of the play. So, Chris, let me flip the question to you. What do you think the key matchup is from the Chiefs side?
I'm going to go a little bit of a different direction myself. And, for me, when I look at this matchup, one of the things that Kansas City has struggled with is getting open and getting Mahomes targets. And don't get me wrong, Mahomes can do whatever he wants with the ball. He can get it in tight windows if he has to. But if you go back and watch week one, the wide receivers weren't getting the separation that Mahomes would have liked to throw the ball. And when they did, they weren't on the same page with Mahomes for some of it, and then they had drops as well. So I'm really looking at your corners versus the wide receivers of the Chiefs. Travis Kelce I could say Travis Kelce every week, and I'm just going to be honest. I mean, he's a matchup nightmare for just about any defense because I've yet to see a defense that can actually really shut him down. Even when you hold him to low yardage, it's usually at the expense of him getting multiple touchdowns. So did you really hold him down at that point? So looking at Sauce Gardner, looking at your other corner, how do they go up against this Chiefs wide receiver room? And can the Chiefs wide receivers get separation? Because I would imagine that the Jets are probably going to try to double Kelce, let Sauce do his own thing, and see if the other wide receivers can beat you. And if that's the case, that's going to make the Chiefs wide receivers be even more important in this game. And it could lead to a game where Kansas City's either way up, or it could lead to a game which is a lot closer than it probably should be.
This is interesting, and I think one of the interesting things for the Jets, and I'm going to talk about Kelce a little bit, is I think heading into the season, I had big questions about the Jets linebacker group. They have a guy, Quincy Wilson. He's actually, I'm sorry, not Quincy Wilson. That's actually another former Jets corner, Quincy Williams. Quinnen Williams' brother, who the Jets claimed off waivers 2 years ago from Jacksonville, a linebacker who has been decent. He was good enough to earn a starting job the last 2 seasons. He was good enough to earn a second contract from the Jets over the course of this offseason. Very inconsistent player, but the first 3 weeks of the season, it seems like it's clicked for him. It's clicked against the run. It's clicked in coverage. It's a tough matchup. I'm interested to see how the Jets handle him. I also think, though, when you look at this Chiefs receiver room, I wonder whether on passing downs, at least, the third and long plays, whether the Jets may put Sauce Gardner on Travis Kelce, because Jets have good corners. Sauce is the number one guy, though. And I think that, the Jets may feel confident enough in these corners, DJ Reed and Michael Carter II, that they might be able to handle these Chiefs receivers. And maybe, I don't know, you can do it on early downs, because I think, even the tight end like Kelce, it's tough to put a corner on him on early downs when he can just block a corner against the run. But I wonder if on passing downs, maybe you see a marquee matchup in Sauce Gardner versus Travis Kelce.
That would be interesting, and I'm curious to see if they do it. The one thing I will say is, generally speaking, when Travis has been matched up against the corner, he's used his size to his advantage. So that's really what the problem has been when he goes up against corners. It's slowed him down at times. I'm not going to say it stopped him, but the other interesting part of that to me is, if they're going to go and do that, I have been tracking third downs for Kansas City this entire season. And while Kelce was out the first week, he still is not the overwhelming favorite to get the ball on third down. Like, I'm not going to say he's at the bottom of the list, but he's probably second or third on the list in the past 2 games of being targeted in third down over these past couple weeks, which is interesting to me because you would expect it to be more. So, Mahomes is having trust in other players, so that's going to be what's curious to me in that regard.
So who are the guys he targets over Kelce on third down?
It's been different each week. He targeted Sky Moore lots. He's targeted Rashee Rice several times. Justin Watson has been a guy, especially on deeper balls. It's not really one person. I mean, there's lots of different people he's gone to, and look at Jerick McKinnon. Jerick McKinnon has got a lot of work out of the backfield and being a guy that can, get out in space and create. And while Kansas City didn't get a lot of long third downs in week 3, they did have a lot of long third downs in week 2, and they didn't convert a bunch of them, but they completed passes and gave themselves a chance. So something to watch.
All right. Well, you've heard the key storylines for these two teams. You've heard the key matchups ahead here on this crossover Thursday edition of Locked On Jets and Locked On Chiefs. we're going to turn our attention to predictions. What will happen Sunday night in the Meadowlands? Stay tuned to find out. This episode of Locked On Jets and Locked On Chiefs is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They're the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more or less than 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. PrizePicks is the most fun you can have playing daily fantasy. You can test your skills this football season. It's the most exciting way to play daily fantasy. And if you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps, because PrizePicks allows you to pick more or less than player stat projections. So you can have Patrick Mahomes for more than 2 touchdowns if you're a Chiefs fan, or less than 2 touchdowns if you're a Jets fans. Really fun, really exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match of up to $100. Again, it's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL, promo code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match of up to $100. One more time, prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL, promo code LockedOnNFL. Play daily fantasy sports. It's Crossover Thursday here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm John, the host of Locked On Jets, alongside Chris from Locked On Chiefs. Sunday Night Football, a rare appearance on the big stage for the New York Jets. First Sunday Night Football appearance since 2011. Not so rare appearance for Kansas City in the marquee game of the week. Chris, tell me what you think is going to happen Sunday night in the Meadowlands.
You know, in order for the Chiefs to win this game, I think they have to play to their strengths. I mean, you say that every week, but it's the reality of, can they slow down the Jets offense, which I obviously think they can. I think Zach Wilson is going to make it hard for them to be successful on a regular basis. But Kansas City has allowed some teams to run a little bit, so that's going to be interesting, because Breece Hall, I think, is really a threat when it runs. But if they can't pass, it kind of holds up the run a little bit too. So something to watch on that. But for me, can Kansas City's offense play up to a very good defense and take it to a very good defense? And I think if they get to a point where they score 28, 35 points, I don't think that the Jets are going to be able to keep up. I see Kansas City winning this game, and I'm not sure that I really see it being particularly close. I'm going to probably go 30 to 13.
Chris, I wish I could disagree with you on this, but I've got to be honest with you. I do not have a lot of confidence in the way the New York Jets are playing right now. They are 1-2, and I think the way they got to 1-2 is one of the things that just kind of eliminates any confidence I might have in this football team. The game that they won week 1 on Monday night against the Buffalo Bills, one of the most inspiring Jets wins I've ever seen, and I've been watching the Jets for 30 years. They overcame Aaron Rodgers' injury, which I mean, I'll tell you, watching the game as a fan, I felt devastated. I can't imagine how the players must have felt in that game. The fact they rallied from a double-digit deficit in the second half. It's one of the great Jets wins I've ever seen. They
rallied around it. Yeah.
But that said, I mean, the way that they won was not a sustainable way to win. They forced 4 turnovers, which I don't care how good your defense is. You can't count on 4 turnovers. That gave them a short field for a couple of their scores. They won the game on a punt return in overtime. Jets have good special teams. You can't count on a punt return touchdown, though. And then the last 2 weeks, it's been ugly. Against Dallas, it was a complete no-show against an excellent Cowboys team. Well, the Chiefs are an excellent team, too. Last week, against a New England team that I got to be honest with you, Chris, I don't think is that good. The defense played well. The defense only allowed 13 points, but the offense just stalled in such a profound way. Zach Wilson's not playing with any confidence right now. I could see this game going one of 2 ways, where either the Jets play really inspired football and the crowd gets behind them, and this is a tight game in the last 2 minutes, and maybe it's a situation where the Jets have the ball with a chance to win. Maybe it's a situation where we're all going to be terrified for New York, and the Chiefs will have the ball with Mahomes having the game in his hands. The other scenario is the one you laid out, where Chiefs jump out to a big lead and the Jets just don't have the offensive firepower to match. I think if the Jets win, it's going to have to follow that week 1 formula. They're going to have to get Breece Hall to pop a couple big runs, Garrett Wilson's going to have a big game. You just have to work around Zach Wilson, and the defense really needs to heat up, especially that pass rush. I mean, I think they'll probably need 5 sacks to win this game on Mahomes. But I think it could happen. But I think if you play this game 10 times, probably 6 or 7, the Chiefs win this game in a blowout. I agree with you. I'm not going to pick as big of a margin, but I think it's got the feel of like a Chiefs 24, Jets 10 kind of game.
It's fair. And I look at this and I mean, I agree with you. If the Chiefs turn the ball over a lot and the Jets are able to get pressure, that completely changes the game plan. And, the Chiefs have shown defensively that they will allow scores on short fields. So if the Chiefs turn the ball over a lot, that's definitely a way to beat this team.
I guess what I go to is, I try and think if these teams play at an equal level, like if the Chiefs bring their A game and the Jets bring their A game, the Jets are going to win. If the Jets bring their A game and the Chiefs bring their C game, Jets have a shot because the Jets have a good defense, and it could be a low scoring kind of game, and it could be type of game that comes down to the final possession. I mean, that's really the ideal for the Jets. I don't see the Jets winning this game in a blowout. And I think when you get into a situation where you can see like Jets close win, Chiefs close win, or Chiefs blowout, but there's no scenario where the Jets win in the blowout, the smart money's probably on the Chiefs.
So really quickly, you said if the Chiefs bring their A game and the Jets bring their A game, the Jets win?
Oh, I'm sorry, the Chiefs win.
Okay.
My apologies.
No, I just wanted to clarify. I was like, well, I mean, if that's what you believe, fair enough. I just wanted to make sure that was what you said.
I apologize for that. Yes, let me make that clear. If the Jets bring their A game and the Chiefs bring their A game, the Chiefs will win this game. I don't want to mistake that. They may be calling me crazy if I don't clarify that, Chris.
Not a problem, sir. I just wanted to make sure I heard you right. So.
Anyway, Chris, it's been great chatting with you. I hope we do it again sometime soon. Maybe at some point the Jets will, be in the playoffs, and we'll be doing this before maybe a divisional game or something like that.
That'd be great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to this game. It's always fun on Sunday Night Football, so being on prime time is going to be exciting, and hopefully we have a good game. That's really all you can really hope for in this scenario.
Anyway, that's all for our crossover show today. Jets fans, Chiefs fans, it's been great chatting with you. Jets fans, tune into Locked On Jets tomorrow. We'll have a great show talking about the lead up to this game. Chiefs fans, listen to Chris over on Locked On Chiefs. They'll have great content. In fact, Jets fans, head on over there to get the perspective from the enemy. Until next time, have a great Thursday, everybody, and look forward to chatting about this game tomorrow.